If you look at your life and see a graveyard of half-finished projects, a guitar in the corner, a half-CCO-coded website, a set of baking tools, and a sudden urge to learn jiu-jitsu, you probably feel a very specific type of shame. Society has a word for you, dilettante. They tell you that you are chaotic or that you lack the grit to specialize. You feel like an imposter because you can't just pick one lane and stay in it. You might even know the phrase jack of all trades, master of none, and you use it to beat yourself up. But you are forgetting the rest of the quote. The full quote is, "A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one." Psychology suggests that this feeling of being scattered isn't a defect. It is a symptom of a highly adaptive nervous system. You aren't failing to specialize. You are unconsciously building a rare cognitive architecture known as the M-shaped mind. While the world tells you to focus, your brain is trying to prepare you for a future where hyper-specialization is actually a liability. Before we break down why your chaos is actually a survival strategy, let me know in the comments, where are you watching from? And if you love deep psychology like this, understand why you feel this anxiety. We have to look at the lie you were sold. For the last century, the world was an I-shaped game. It rewarded people who dug one hole a mile deep. It was a kind learning environment like golf, where the rules never changed. If you practiced your swing for 10,000 hours, you won, but you don't live in a kind environment. Your brain instinctively knows that the modern world is a wicked environment. The rules change every day. In a wicked environment, the specialist is fragile. If the industry changes, they are obsolete. Because of this, you naturally drift. One year you are obsessed with electrical wiring and HVAC systems, and the next you are deep into yoga, heavy lifting, and DJing rave music. To an outsider, this looks like a chaotic personality. They might call you a strange man or unfocused, but what you are actually doing is gathering data points from disparate domains. This is where the magic happens. Psychology calls this far transfer. The specialist uses near transfer. They solve problems they have seen before using the same old tools. But you use far transfer. You take a concept from one completely unrelated field and apply it to another. Think about the web developer who used to be a beekeeper and a farmer. On paper, those things have nothing to do with coding. But that agricultural experience allows them to understand organic systems and growth cycles in a way that a specialist coder who only stares at screens could never grasp. They aren't just writing code. They are cultivating an ecosystem. That is far transfer. That is innovation. You feel like an imposter because you aren't the best at any one thing. But you are failing to see that your value isn't in your depth. It's in your synthesis. Now, understanding that your curiosity is a superpower is a great relief. But it doesn't solve the immediate crushing problem, the burnout and the feeling of being behind in life. You see people your age becoming senior vice presidents or lead engineers, and you feel like you're still at the starting line because you keep switching tracks. This happens because you are misunderstanding the geometry of your own potential. You aren't T-shaped general knowledge with one specialty. You are M-shaped. An M-shaped person has multiple pillars of depth connected by a bridge of curiosity. But here is the trap. You cannot build all the pillars of the M at the same time. If you try to learn data science, write a novel, and start a business all in the same month, you will collapse. The people who successfully navigate this life, the true polymaths, practice what we call serial mastery. You have to view your life in seasons. You might spend your 20s obsessing over music and art. Then in your 30s, you pivot to programming to pay the bills. You didn't quit art, you just finished that season of construction. I saw a story of a 53-year-old who finally found peace with this. He realized he couldn't choose art over programming. So he let programming be the pillar that paid the bills while music, philosophy, and game design flourished as the other pillars on nights and weekends. He denied high-demand team lead positions to keep his work week at 30 hours. He protected his psychic energy. He didn't try to merge them all instantly. He let them exist sequentially, and eventually they all merged into his own personal video game projects. That is the M shape in action. There is one final psychological trait you have that makes you bulletproof, and it comes from evolutionary biology. It's called redundancy. In nature, redundancy is a strength, not a waste. Elephants rarely get cancer because they have massive genetic redundancy. Multiple copies of the same cancer-fighting gene. If one fails, another takes over. Your chaotic interests are your redundancy. If you are just a specialist software engineer and AI takes your job, you are terrified. But if you are a software engineer who also knows how to do electrical wiring, Fix HVAC motors and teach English. You are unbreakable. You haven't been wasting your time dabbling. You have been engaging in strategic adaptability. You have been building a safety net of skills that ensures no matter what happens to the economy or technology or the job market, you have a pivot ready. So stop apologizing for your graveyard of hobbies. Those weren't failures. They were semesters in the university of your own making. You were never meant to be just one thing. You were built to be the bridge between worlds that others can't even see. If you are ready to embrace your M-shaped future, drop a heart emoji in the comments to show you're putting it all together. The part of your brain that allows you to push through when things get hard. But you know, for some of you, a different, more confusing problem emerged. What if sticking with things is not your issue? What if your problem is that you have too many things you want to stick with? You look at your life and see a dozen different paths, and they all feel like a part of you. You are not afraid of the work, you are paralyzed by the choice. This is the classic scanner's dilemma, perfectly captured in the phrase, "I could do anything if I only knew what it was." Society has a word for you too. They call you a dilettante, someone who is a jack of all trades but a master of none. And the anxiety that comes with that label is immense. It can feel like your greatest strength, your curiosity, is also your biggest career liability. Today we are going to dismantle that anxiety. We will look at the geometry of a successful career and offer a path for those of us who were never meant to just be one thing. First, we need to understand why the old career advice can feel like a trap. For the last century, the world praised the specialist society was a predictable environment, almost like a chessboard. The rules were clear, and the path to success was to go a mile deep in one narrow field. Psychologists call this a kind learning environment. It rewards repetition. This is the world of the I-shaped person, the expert with a single deep pillar of knowledge. But that is not the world we live in anymore, is it? The world today is a wicked learning environment. The rules are constantly changing, feedback is delayed, and the patterns are not obvious. Think about the difference between a golfer and a firefighter. A golfer operates in a kind environment. The rules never change, and the feedback is immediate. A firefighter works in a wicked one. Every situation is new. The rules are unknown, and their specialized knowledge might not apply in a wicked world. The hyper-specialist can have blind spots. Now, to be clear, we absolutely need specialists. Their deep knowledge is incredibly valuable. The problem is not that the specialist path is wrong. The problem is when it is treated as the only path. When that single standard is used to measure everyone, it leaves people like you feeling like a failure. When your brain is simply built for a different kind of world. To build a career that fits your brain, you have to stop thinking in terms of job titles and start thinking in terms of shapes. The I-shaped person is the specialist. The opposite is the dash-shaped person, a mile wide and an inch deep. This is the trap many of us fall into, knowing a little about everything, but having no real foundation. This lack of depth creates a ton of anxiety, because you feel like you have no ground to stand on, but there are other shapes. The most powerful one for a person like you is the M-shaped professional, or the polymath. Think of it like this: maybe your one leg is data science, you go deep there. That pays the bills, but your second leg is storytelling. You go deep there too, and your horizontal bar is your interest in psychology, history, and design. Suddenly, you are not just a distracted data scientist. You become the person who can weave complex data into a compelling narrative that a CEO can actually understand. That combination is rare. That combination is valuable. The tool that allows a polymath to do this is called far transfer. A specialist uses near transfer, applying a skill to a very similar problem, but a polymath uses far transfer. They see the underlying structure in one field and apply it to a completely different one. A person who understands the branching structure of a tree's root system might suddenly see a better way to organize a company's database. A musician who understands harmony and counterpoint might look at a piece of software code and see a more elegant way to structure it. That is far transfer. It is the ability to see the music, not just the notes, and all those seemingly random interests you have collected over the years. They form the very library of metaphors you will pull from to create these kinds of breakthrough insights. So how do you actually build this M-shaped life? It requires a different strategy. The first is serial mastery. You cannot build all the pillars at once. That just leads back to the shallow dash shape. You must pick one pillar and commit to it for a season, maybe 6 to 18 months or so. Now, the big question is which one to pick first. The anxiety of this choice is what paralyzes most scanners. The secret is to lower the stakes. You are not choosing for the rest of your life. You are just choosing for this season. A good first pillar is often the one that creates the most stability, the one that can become that good enough job we will talk about, or it could be the one that simply has the most energy and excitement around it, right? Now pick one and give yourself permission to pour your focus there. You build one leg until it is strong, until you feel you have mastered the core 80% of it. This doesn't mean you need to be a world-class expert. It just means you have reached a level of fluency where you can solve most common problems without running back to the instruction manual. When your curiosity in that area feels satisfied for now, you make a conscious choice. This is not quitting like a dabbler running from the pain. This is strategic quitting. It is a graduation. You are deliberately choosing to begin building your next pillar. This requires a second strategy. If your mind is naturally drawn to exploration, it can be a powerful choice to have a day job that provides stability without draining all of your cognitive energy. Many of the great polymaths like Einstein did this. He worked as a patent clerk. It was the stable ground that allowed his mind to wander the universe. You may need to reframe your day job. It's not just about the paycheck, it's a strategic asset. A low-drain job leaves you with a surplus of your most valuable resource, your mental energy, which you can then invest in building your other pillars. A high-passion, high-stress job might sound exciting, but if it consumes 110% of you, it leaves no room for the exploration your brain craves. The final piece is a system, because let's be honest, a scanner's brain generates more ideas than it can possibly hold on to. Your mind is a high-output idea factory, but your working memory is like a small workbench. If you don't move finished ideas off the bench, there is no room to build new ones. Trying to keep it all in your head is a recipe for overwhelm. This is why you need an external place to capture your fleeting obsessions. The great sociologist Niklas Luhmann published over 70 books, and his secret was a system called a Zettelkasten. He didn't try to write a whole book at once. He just wrote down one idea on a small index card. Then he linked it to another related card over decades. These connections grew into a massive web of knowledge that practically wrote the books for him. When you get fascinated with medieval architecture for a week, take notes, put them in a simple system like Notion or Obsidian. Then when the obsession fades, you can let it go without feeling guilty. 3 years from now, when you are working on a web design project, you might stumble upon those old notes and realize the structure of a cathedral is exactly like the structure of this website. That is the moment of magic, but it only happens if you capture the dots so you can connect them later. So let's put this all together. You are not a dabbler who lacks grit. You are a scanner, a potential polymath. Your brain is not designed for the stable world of the specialist. It is designed to be a bridge between different worlds of knowledge. This path won't always feel easy, and mastery takes time. But just having a map for your mind brings a sense of calm. The self-blame begins to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence. Pick your first pillar, build it with focus. Use your job as a stable platform, not a cage, and build an external system to hold your endless sparks of curiosity. You were never meant to master just one thing. You were meant to be the person who can see how everything connects and to help to guide for you. Called the Polymath Field Guide, it has a simple framework for auditing your interests and designing your. Now, if you found yourself listening to this and thinking, my problem isn't that I have too many interests. My problem is that I quit the moment things get difficult. That is perfectly okay. That just means you are at a different part of the journey. I would recommend you start by watching our previous video. It will give you the tools to build that first foundational muscle. You can click on it right here. Thanks for watching. I hope this gives you something useful you can actually try. And I will see you in the next one.